Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the Talk of the Mac community. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this time we're going to do a little something different. We usually don't talk to Kickstarter Project folks, but once in a while there's an exception for one reason or another, and I think you'll understand the exception reason in a second. I'm happy to have back from Tactics Sells High Tech our buddy Mark Fuccio. Mark, it's great to have you.
Hi, that's me. It's good to be with you, and we're going to be talking about a fun, interesting project today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's fun because Mark always brings these interesting stories to us. And today is really interesting. The guy sitting beside him is also no stranger to Mac Voices and Mac Voices TV, Mr. Jim Sherhart. Jim, it's great to have you back.
Great seeing you, Chuck.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
So, guys, when you approach me about this, you're both Drobo alumni, and so that usually means storage. I've learned from Mark that there is such a thing as a storage geek, and you two both definitely qualify. So you all are starting out a project on Kickstarter called Transporter. Does this have anything to do with Star Trek, guys?
Maybe in a manner of speaking, that what we're inventing is, the company was founded by Jeff Barrell, who was the founder and founding CEO of Drobo. And as you know, the world changes and people have new problems. And right now, a lot of requirements that people have is they want to share data, and Transporter sort of illustrates the idea is they want to have it in multiple places, and they want to have multiple copies in different places. And today, it's very, very difficult unless you have a PhD in IT to really work with the tools and products in the market to allow you to have a copy of your data at home and a backup copy to your office, or vice versa, or to be able to share. In the holiday season, share photos and family videos with people in multiple locations or multiple states. And the idea behind the Transporter is to create what we're calling social storage, a way for people to be able to do that and do it easily without, as I said, having to have a PhD in IT.
Okay, guys, so you have to bear with us a little bit here as we all come to understand the concept behind Transporter. Don't I already have some of those capabilities via iCloud, Dropbox, SugarSync, some of these other services that are out there?
Do. I think the biggest difference and really the, one of the big reasons for Jeff founding this company is that, anytime you upload something to the cloud, we've all seen the security breaches that have gone on lately, some very high profile ones, not just with Dropbox, but mega uploads and some other ones as well. And I think what people are coming to the realization is that the cloud is good for certain data, but it's not right for all data types. Everybody's got, personal information, documents they need to share that, have social security numbers or maybe bank account statements, those kind of things where, they either need to share it maybe with their accountant. They want to make sure they have a copy offsite, so they want to back it up. But that probably isn't stuff that's appropriate for the cloud, or even a company would be a great example. Companies are, people are bringing Dropbox in, right? And there's confidential information getting on Dropbox from companies, and IT guys are struggling to figure out how to sort of shut that down, because they've got confidential documents floating all over. And so something like this, that is kind of what we've dubbed, online but off cloud. Is a perfect solution for that because of the way we've designed it. And we'll get into some of the details, but that's sort of the crux of how this product differs from some of those cloud solutions that you're familiar with.
Online but off cloud, I kind of like that because it speaks to some issues that I've experienced in the business world as well as personally, where there are things that I would like to have in a couple places I'd like to share, but I'm not completely comfortable sending them to Dropbox. I'm not completely comfortable, even in an encrypted fashion, trying to email them or FTP them. This is something that sounds like it might solve that issue.
Yeah, it's perfect for that. And the fact that you can set up different folders and share different information with different groups of people, make it perfect for somebody like yourself, where you've got a small business you're running. And so I'm sure something like this would be just perfect for what you're trying to accomplish.
So instead of me trying to outguess you guys, walk me through how the Transporter works and what it does if between, say, me and Mark or me and Jim or the three of us.
Okay, well, that's a picture of a transporter. That's an actual transporter. I hope it's framed appropriately in the Skype. So as you can see, it's a distinctive little shape. As we say, it's about the size of a Coke can. And this can hold up to 2 terabytes of storage. The top comes off. It has 2.5-inch notebook drive, which just comes in and it installs very, very easily. And in the back, you have power, wired Ethernet or wireless Ethernet. So that depending on whether you want to put it on display or you want to get it away from wires, that's it. This sits on the network. And to log in, the first thing you do when you buy one is you go to the website. It will automatically find it. It will locate it and give you the capability to claim that transporter. And then that's associated with you and the user account that you set up. And thereafter, it creates a concept of what we're calling a connected folder. And that's a folder that's on your Mac or your PC, and it stores data on the drive on the transporter. And with that, you have the ability that you can send out invitations, to one person or to 10 people, and you could share data. And on your Mac or your PC, it just looks like it's a hard drive. So you just drag and drop files into it, and then in the background, it will push them up through the network, over to the transporter that they have. And as we say, that's a way that everybody can share data, but they have the benefit, they all have their own local copy. And that gives them a benefit of speed, because sometimes you probably see some delays in getting access to a file in a Dropbox. If somebody sent you a link, you're trying to share it. Here, since it resides locally, you get the benefit of local speed. And that building on a comment Jim was making, because the data is stored on a transporter, it's only stored on transporters that you authorize. This means you're in control. You know exactly where your data is stored. Whereas in the cloud, well, what does that mean? Does that mean Washington State or Washington, D.C., or is it in China or Canada or Mexico? Who knows? So with this, it provides a better way that it gives you the ability to access your data. And we'll talk more about the different ways that that will be possible later in this interview. But you know exactly where the device is. You know exactly where these data resides. You know what the physical security is. So if you're a doctor or a lawyer, where you have either ethical or legal standards, this can answer a problem that some of those professionals are uncomfortable using the cloud today just because of the uncertainty. And as we like to say, if your cloud service provider can still subpoena, that means you probably don't want to store your data with them, because they will turn it over to the authorities on the drop of a hat.
So since we're into security, let's talk about security. The first two things I would think of, the first one I think of is the transmission. This obviously, the data has to leave my transporter, go to somebody else's transporter. Is it encrypted along the way, and if so, to what degree?
It is encrypted. I don't know exactly what encryption we're using. My guess is we're going to be using something like 256-bit AES. I can find out for sure for you, Chuck, to follow up.
Okay, so in other words, it is encrypted, so it's secure moving from one point to another.
Yeah. So I mean, there's 2 points of encryption, right? There's encryption over the wire, like you mentioned, and then there's encryption at rest. Initially, when we first released the transporters, we won't have the ability to encrypt at rest, but that's a feature that's going to be coming shortly after GA. So we're going to dub it a sort of special kind of pool that we're going to call it a backup folder or backup pool. And what that will do is, say, for example, you had sensitive information that you want to have a second copy offsite at a different transporter. You could put that into a hidden and encrypted folder so that the copy that's remote from you is always going to be protected. You might very well want to have a transporter that you're sharing, with somebody else. So somebody's got a transporter, you've got a transporter, and maybe you want to do backups to each other's device. This is a nice way to be able to encrypt it and have it hidden on their device so they can't go in and actually see it as well. So that'll be coming shortly after GA.
Okay. The next privacy concern, I guess. Mark, you sort of casually tossed off the fact that I'm going to have a transporter account of some kind. So does this mean that the data is traveling through the transporter services or the transporter-based services or whatever, or is it truly going just from my device over to the other one?
Yeah, so the point of the account is basically that's a central website where it allows you to manage accounts. So it allows you to associate that maybe you want to share a file with me or with somebody else in in the Mac community, and all the data flows from point to point. So the point of the central server is sort of like a DNS in the internet world. Is it knows that MacVoices.com it has this IP address. So it knows if I want to send data to the transporter you have, it just talks to the website to find out what the IP address is. Thereafter, all the communications from point to point is from transporter to transporter. So that way, the data is not only is it encrypted, but only the sending and receiving transporter knows that there's a data flow or an information flow between them. And this is, again, going back to one of the earlier questions about how this compares with cloud services. Just without going into too much detail, if a service can offer the ability that they allow you to have remote access through some sort of web interface or an app, that means that that company can see file names so that they're able to provide sharing to it. So right away, the door is open. That's not a secure type of file service. So we're thinking that what Transporter will do is it offers individuals and businesses the ultimate in security is it's online, meaning you access it through the network, but it's off cloud, meaning it's not out there in some public space where it can easily be compromised.
Okay, that makes sense, and this appeals to me a great deal, as we said earlier, for a lot of reasons. So you've indicated sharing of folders. So I gather that I'm not sharing just if I put it on my transporter, it's going to every other transporter. I can share different folders or have different levels of access?
That's right. Yeah, so you can, we won't initially have different levels of access, but you can set up as many folders as you want. So a good example I like to use is I could set up a folder for family photos, and I could share that with my brother, with my parents, my parents-in-law, and any photos, say, for example, of our kids that we upload to there, everybody's automatically getting a copy of that. I could do a separate folder for work documents. I could do a separate folder for maybe stuff I want to share with friends outside of the family group. So the nice thing is you can create as many folders as you want and share those with anybody that you want. So you have complete control over that.
And you also have the ability that, if for whatever reason a project ends or you have a fight with somebody, you can uninvite them. And when you do that, that will delete the copies of the data that's on their transporter. So again, the idea goes back to its total privacy and empowers and puts control on the person who is creating the data in the first place.
Is this a syncing device? And what I mean by that is if I have a document, a word processing document that I share with you, Mark, and then you make an edit to it, does the edit sync back to mine?
It will, and it probably gets into an advanced use of Transporter, and that is, we mentioned before, it creates a connected folder. So you can imagine you have one of these on your Mac or on your PC, and when it does that, automatically will keep a copy on your computer and then another copy on Transporter. And the second you do the save or close the document, the information will be written from your computer out to the transporter. And if you have a transporter in another location, it will also push that out. So you can think of it as it gives you, copies, and it gives you offsite backup for free because, it will handle all the communication and doesn't require, dance with firewalls or open ports or, other geeky IT things like that. It will just push the copy out to one transporter or to 10 or whatever number you like. So that's the sense in which it gives people the ability to protect their data. They can have multiple copies. And I think, we're finding, and certainly our experience was at Drobo, that a lot of people understand having multiple copies, more, readily than they do the concept of, have a RAID and redundant storage and the protection. So if a drive fails, you can reconstruct the missing data from the remaining parts of the drive set. That's a little, too complex, and requires a little bit of a leap of faith that since most people don't see systems that do that all the time, there's always a little bit of element of selling magic at Drobo. Whereas we think with the transporter, people intuitively understand, oh, I have my own copy of the file, and it's on my computer, or it's on my transporter, or on my 2 transporters.
And the updating is live, so that if we share a file, I throw a new file into my Mark Fuccio folder, it goes right to you, and it's there. Right.
I mean, the only limitation here is the size of the pipe. Do you have a big upload pipe, or do you have a small upload pipe? Again, there's some of the advanced controls and transporters. People can go in and they can limit the amount of bandwidth. So that maybe they want to send and receive email or do video Skype calls, and they don't want the transporter consuming all their bandwidth. So there's abilities that people can go in and they can tweak and adjust it, and that's a trade-off and a balancing act between how much bandwidth you give it and how quickly it will distribute the update or the change.
That's so important for reasons just like what we're doing now. There are times that I don't want my bandwidth capacity being messed with by things running in the background. I love the convenience, but I need this more on an immediate basis. It's great that I have the ability here to schedule things, or at least limit it, so that it's not interfering with me when I really need all the bandwidth I can get.
One thing, I think it's sort of, in some ways, it's an acquired taste. I know working with the team here at the transport team, that we're finding and discovering ways of distributing documents. Recently, over the past weekend, we had to distribute a 330 megabyte file, and the person who was sending it was saying, "Oh, how do I do it?" He said, "Well, I really see why transporter is going to be valuable. You just put it on a transporter folder, and it got distributed to 2 other people. It took maybe 40 minutes or an hour for it to to transfer, but you can never do that through email. And the other advanced things like FTP sites and things like that, just people don't have it. And we know by working with the people who put the Kickstarter movie together, that hopefully your viewers will watch, that he pushed out a movie, and it was a big movie. I couldn't get all of it, and it suddenly forced my Dropbox to fail because I didn't have enough space. It filled up the space. So again, going back to transporter, if you put 2 terabytes in there, that's a lot of data, especially if you're using it just as a way that will make data available to multiple Macs in my case, and at multiple locations.
And Chuck, one thing we haven't even really talked about is the cost, factor. You start talking about putting 500 gigabytes of storage in the cloud, and you're easily talking about, probably something along the lines of $500 every year. So this product, we can get into the pricing, but what we're thinking right now is we'll sell a unit without a drive, and you can use any 2.5-inch laptop drive for probably right around $199, and we'll have a discount for people participating on the Kickstarter. But even fully loaded with a 2 terabyte drive, for example, you'd be looking at a list price we're targeting right now of $399. And that's a one-time fee. You pay that and you're done. So it's not like the more you put on it, the more you're going to be paying. It's not like you're going to have to pay it every year, every month. I think for some people that are power users on some of these cloud storage, maybe they don't care too much about the privacy, but for them, the cost equation, I think, is going to be really attractive.
Yeah, definitely. It's like the gateway drug. We've all become addicted to some of this, the free cloud storage. Now it's filled up. Now we find that we need more. We want more. And now the cost is becoming just a touch prohibitive in places. So this sounds like a nice little solution.
Yeah, I think I read a statistic. I don't want to quote exactly because I'm not sure, but a vast majority of Dropbox users are free users. And it'd be interesting to see to understand how many of those people would convert if there wasn't a monthly fee associated with it. Because I think the number would be a lot higher. I think a lot of people just go to what they have as the free storage, and then they go and look for another alternative when they're looking at faced with a monthly fee. And that's what's great about this. I mean, for the early birds on Kickstarter, typically give even a steeper discount. So we're looking at about $149. So for the first people to get on the Kickstarter campaign, that's a pretty great deal. For something that you can go and probably spend $50 for a hard drive. Now you get a really, really nice solution for sharing your stuff.
Guys, I don't want to dig too deep into this because there's a lot to be done here, but I do have to ask this, and especially with you both coming from Drobo, if I pick up a transporter and just use the first hard drive that I have laying around here and decide later, wow, I love this, but guess what? I need to upgrade my storage, and I pull that, say, 500 meg drive out and drop a 2 terabyte in. What happens?
Okay, so in a case like that, if you have files copied with to another friend's or colleague's transporter, or another one in an office, when you do that, what Transporter will do is when you reclaim, it will see that, oh, I have these folders, but I don't have data, but it's out on this other transporter, and it will start to pull them down and suck it back in over the net. So that's a way that if you wanted to, you could do an upgrade in capacity.
Great. So it really is truly acting like a backup. Let's just say that hard drive failed in the transporter and had to be replaced. Same situation. It's going to start to repopulate it once I connect it and get a replacement drive.
That's right. Exactly right.
Yeah, because all the information about the transporter stays, right? So the MAC address is the same. So as soon as it comes back online with that larger hard drive, the system is going to automatically detect it and say, oh, I need to copy these files over that were supposed to be synchronized. Yeah. So it's pretty non-disruptive, pretty automated.
Very cool. Very cool. The other obvious question I think we have to cover here a little bit, why Kickstarter for something that seems like such a great product and a no-brainer? Does Kickstarter hold some particular allure for you all?
Well, I think the biggest thing is it just decided to do this company a little bit different than past companies. Drobo and Blue Arc were his previous startups. And what I mean by that is we're running lean. This is truly a lean startup. We've raised a little bit of money. I wouldn't call it a lot of money. Enough to get to where we're at now, to get essentially the design done, get about 150 prototypes built. But we all very much believe in Jeff and his vision for the company. So we all took a bit of a haircut to come here. So, and so really the great thing about the Kickstarter platform is, well, first off, when we discussed it, we said, you kind of get one time to do a Kickstarter as a company starting out, right? So it's an opportunity that we have now that we're not going to have down the road. I think it's a great opportunity for us to get the product in front of potential customers and get true and honest feedback. And that's extremely valuable. Mark does great research, and so we think we've done a really good job, but we don't know. Do we have the right pricing? Do we have the right configurations? Do we have the right feature set? So I think Kickstarter is going to give us some fantastic feedback and really let us know that either, yeah, we have, or certainly is going to help us prioritize what we need to get done, very quickly for the product. The third thing is the way that Kickstarter works on its funding is that you set a goal, and as soon as that goal is met, the project automatically gets funded. So you actually are able to take in cash ahead of delivery of the units, which for us helps offset the large cash infusion that's needed to set up a mass production run. Because there's a lot of inventory. There's a lot of money that we would need to lay out that we're not spending on R&D or on our marketing efforts. It's just literally tied up in inventory. And so it's a really unique way, I think, and a great opportunity for us to be able to continue to run the company lean, but be able to get the transporter out into more people's hands, which is really what we want to do.
Very nice. Yeah, there's an air, I think, of excitement around a good Kickstarter project. I mean, let's face it, there are a lot of them out there that aren't very exciting and they're a little questionable. And Kickstarter has, I think, tried to implement new standards. And the fact that they even accept anything anymore says something about it. So this is going to be fun to watch, and I certainly hope it works out for the best for everyone involved. One thing I did want to talk about that I forgot earlier, and that is iDevices. We're talking a lot about moving the data from here to there. Do we have any options to access that data through an iPad or an iPhone?
Yes,
We do.
indeed.
You want to talk about that?
I should have known. I should have known.
Yeah, yeah. So, just before you came in here, I saw a demo of on the new iPad, the iPad Mini, for the Transporter app. So we see that essential. That again, besides transporting the ability to copy and distribute data, I think the last key value is really access, whether it's from a Mac or a PC or even just your iPad device, iOS or iPhone and Android in the future. You have the ability that you can get back to it. And again, we all know those things have maybe 64 gigabytes of data on a good day. If you have 2 terabytes or a terabyte in your transporter, you really have this unbalance between the amount of data that you have and the amount that you can carry with us. And it's just a natural that it has iOS support, and there are a number of communities like the legal community is going gaga over using iPad devices, and that's absolutely essential to the success of the product and our ability to succeed in the marketplace.
That's kind of exciting to me because I don't necessarily have to have another transporter user. If I have 2 terabytes sort of in my own little private cloud that's not on the cloud, but online but not on the cloud. I love the tagline. That can be very, very useful because now I can put data out there, have it accessible, and reduce or eliminate the risk of anything happening to it should my iPad be lost.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And, and remote access, it's becoming a bit of a checkbox item. I mean, so we almost have to have that capability. And certainly people, it's great that we've got a desktop app, but people are going to want it on the remote devices. So you'll see us start with iOS devices, and then we'll roll out some of the other mobile apps as well.
Very nice.
I think there's a related area in terms of a Kickstarter that we have some offerings targeted for developers. So to the extent that developers are listening to your show, we believe firmly that we need to open it up, allow software developers to link in and create their apps and have them work and use a transporter device. So there are a number of offerings for early access to software development kit and platforms. So we see that again as another dimension that is going to be key for success of this product, and we're offering that upfront day one through Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's actually good. That's a really good point because in reality, any application that can leverage, for example, Dropbox on the back end for storage could leverage a transporter. So you think about anytime you're on your tablet or your phone and you want to save a file, and your options are to save it to your Dropbox account. The transporter offers you a couple terabytes, which is an awful lot of storage.
This seems to be a product, the more I learn about it, the more I get to know about it, the more I think about it, the more useful it has the potential to become. So I hope folks will visit the Kickstarter page. Folks, because the URL is a little bit crazy here to try to put on screen, we'll have it in the show notes so you can just jump right over there. Take a look at the video and read all about it and see if you think it's something you should invest in. But this seems to have a lot of uses beyond what seem to be the obvious ones.
Yeah, and we're actually hoping as we get them out there that people are going to figure out use cases that we can't even think about. That's the exciting part. That's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens.
Great. It's great. We love it. So
great.
We're very excited.
Well, and the fact that it has the original Drobo team pedigree is not a bad thing at all because as I started out teasing Mark a little bit, but I have discovered that there are people out there that really get turned on by storage and the storage solutions, and it's a good thing because we all need more and more of it. So that's got to be another mark in the plus column for Transporter. Well, Mark, Jim, thank you so much for giving us this first look at Transporter. I'm really excited to get my hands on one and play with it, and I certainly hope that the Kickstarter thing makes that even easier so that more people can do it. That way I can show or share a whole lot of stuff with a lot of people.
Excellent. Yeah, we're excited about the Kickstarter. Hopefully we'll see some people on there.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get you all back, assuming, and it's a pretty good bet, that it'll be funded and all, and find out how it's going and give everyone an update in the future.
Welcome it.
We'd love to.
Great.
All right,
thanks. Folks, that's Jim and Mark. They are representing Transporter, a new Kickstarter project, and it's one that I think I can get behind. It's certainly better than a lot I've seen out there. Go check it out. Until the next time, I'm Chuck Joyner. Mac Voices is the talk of the Mac community. Thanks for watching. Mac Voices TV is part of the Mac Voices Group at MacVoicesGroup.com. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at BackbeatMedia.com.